Filoni for president. I'm sticking to it. Dave Filoni, one day, president of Lucasfilm. Come on, guys. Let's spread that like wildfire. Hey guys, found Death Star. So we're going to talk about The Mandalorian here. Dave Filoni had a comment or an article, quote, about The Mandalorian and how it's going to be a little different from what we're used to in the traditional Star Wars films. And I think that's a good thing. I think it's going to be a little different as well from Clone Wars or any of the media we've gotten so far. I do not have a problem with this character being a new character that's set outside of, the original trilogy or well, I mean, it's in the time period of the original trilogy, but it's not dealing with any of the characters. Sure, of course, I would have liked to have gotten a Boba Fett show, or movie or whatever they were originally planning. You can't, how could that have been a bad thing? Well, okay, I take that back. Look at what Disney's done to all the characters. That could have been a very bad thing. But I'm kind of happy that they're going in just a different direction, get away from the legacy characters, just kind of start a story that starts something new, start something fresh. I mean, I know it's still dealing with the same time period, of course, and that's fine. Just, give us a new character, a new take on things, and I'm okay with that. I think the farther they get away from like the legacy characters and the Skywalker trilogy, the better off they are at this point. So let's go through. This is from Cinema Blend, and it's talking about Star Wars. Star Wars is Dave Filoni reveals what he feels is unique about The Mandalorian. And there's the picture of him right there. Star Wars franchise is expanding quite a bit in the coming years, with the franchise taking its first dive into a live-action television series, The Mandalorian. An upcoming Disney Plus series won't just give fans more content to binge and obsess over, but according to Star Wars Dave Filoni, will introduce another perspective behind what's happening in the universe. If it wasn't clear from the trailer, the Mandalorian isn't the typical hero that has been seen in Star Wars films of the past. There's a ton of characters with stakes in light versus dark side game, but judging from Filoni's comment to IGN, this lone bounty hunter doesn't appear to be working for anything other than his own game. And this is his quote here. I think what's unique about Mando, so it's Mando is the cool little hashtag Mando, is he's basically a guy that's trying to make a living in the galaxy. He's a survivor. He's just trying to find his way on a day-to-day basis. I think that leads to very interesting character moments and stories for him that are apart from some things we've seen in the Jedi deal with more directly. He comes from a different angle because he's a different type of character than they are. It's not that surprising a bounty hunter like Boba Fett, but also not, would try not to have a stake in the grand scheme of things. Working strictly for the Resistance or the First Order would limit his customer base, so why not profit from both sides of war? Kind of seemed, we got a little glimpse of that on the Kando Bite, as, it's kind of bad as that whole sequence was in Kando Bite. It did open up a slightly interesting perspective of that there were, gun runners, people were working for both sides. It wasn't just good versus evil. I mean, it was a nice the one little tidbit in that whole scene that kind of was like, oh, that's sort of interesting. Of course they didn't deal with it any more than just that one little brief throwaway line, but it opened up a little bit, opened up the world a little more. So yeah, I'll link this article. You can see the rest of it here. But he basically compares him to Luke, who is the virtuous, all good, total light side, the hope of the galaxy. And then this guy who's, he's kind of a smuggler, scoundrel, bounty hunter, but he's that smuggler, scoundrel type. I would have liked to have seen a Han Solo movie that was a little more like this. The Han Solo we got in Solo he was already a hero. I mean, by the end of the movie, he was like a hero. He was a good guy. And not that Han's a bad guy, obviously. But when we were first introduced to him in A New Hope, he's out for himself. He's a selfish guy. Even through the movie, he's still kind of out for himself. It was until the very end where he, came back with Chewie to help Luke blow up the Death Star and shoot Vader's TIE fighter out of the way. But it would have been more interesting to see a Han that, was a little more scoundrelish, a little more out for himself the entire film, more of an anti-hero, where I thought Solo was more of just kind of he was just kind of a good guy hero throughout the whole movie, and that's not really the character of Han that we see in A New Hope. You know, that his hero journey and story is through A New Hope. So, you know, I don't think they should have ever made a solo. I've said that way back when. I don't think the solo movie was ever needed, but they did make it, so at least they should have made it a little more like that. You know, a little more of a scoundrel, a little more of he's out for himself, just a guy trying to make his own way. You know, and they kind of did a very soft version of that with the solo movie. So anyway, that's what the newest news on the Mandalorian from Filoni, that it's going to be, you know, you're going to see a different side, a guy that's kind of good and bad, and he's just out for himself, and so it's interesting, you know, and he's not Boba Fett, he's his own character, which I think is fine. I think the further away they get, you know, from the legacy stuff, the better off they are. And I still do think Favreau and Filoni, if anyone has a chance of making something that feels like Star Wars again, it's them. I hope Favreau has his own, you know, he should have enough clout to be left alone from, you know, the rest of Lucasfilm. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I'm sure he still has to play ball with Disney, but hopefully they let him do his own thing to an extent, and then we'll see what that own thing is. You know, he did well with Marvel, so. And Filoni, man, Filoni's the guy who was trained under Lucas. He's got the best vision of how to create a Star Wars character, how to grow that character, how to, you know, that he lives within the world of Star Wars. Filoni's got that talent, so we'll see how it goes. But that's the latest. I just thought I'd bring you that little tidbit from Filoni, and hashtag Filoni for president. I'm sticking to it. Dave Filoni, one day, president of Lucasfilm. Come on, guys. Let's spread that like wildfire. All right, till next time, lock the doors and hope they don't have blasters.